Toronto police are announcing the results of a vehicle theft investigation dubbed Project Paranoid. That press conference now underway. Let's listen in live.
By the Toronto Police Service in collaboration with our law enforcement, industry, and government partners. Project Paranoid stemmed from a firearms and narcotics trafficking investigation called Project Spectre, where police seized the 6 firearms you see before you, along with more than 200 grams of cocaine. Information obtained during Project Spectre led to a new investigation focused on the trafficking, shipping, and re-vinning of stolen vehicles, and we call that Project Paranoid. As a result of this investigation, Toronto Police, in partnership with the Canada Border Service Agency, Halton Regional Police Service, the York Regional Police Service, seized 48 stolen vehicles, arrested 7 people, and laid 150 charges. Project Paranoid demonstrates the resources that the Toronto Police Service is dedicating to tackling the auto theft epidemic and the positive results of this work, but it also demonstrates the importance of collaboration among stakeholders to address an issue that is impacting the well-being of all of our communities. Criminal Intelligence Service Ontario provided funding for this investigation through the Ontario government, which also provided funding through its Preventing Auto Theft Grant, or the PAT grant. It was through the PAT grant that Equite Association, here with us today, was able to provide supplemental training to our officers to focus on vehicle theft best practices. I'll allow Mr. Brian Gass of Equite to provide more information about that and the support they provide to law enforcement, but will say that the PAT grant was vital to the success of Project Paranoid, just as collaboration with all of our partners is vital to our fight against organized crime auto theft. The Toronto Police Service has spoken many times about the massive increase in auto thefts in Toronto and across the GTA and how it is contributing to an increase in home invasions, violent robberies, and gun violence throughout the region. This is why we are co-leading the Provincial Carjacking Task Force with the OPP and in partnership with police services in York, Halton, Durham, and Peel to address the rising incidences of violence. In March alone, the task force has made 7 arrests, laid 34 charges, and recovered 23 vehicles. 4 of these arrests were made in the past 48 hours, with one 15-year-old youth found with a loaded handgun. It is also why we created the Organized Crime Investigative Support Unit in 2022, which investigates organized crime-related auto thefts, shares criminal intelligence with other police agencies, and works with other stakeholders like the CBSA, the Canadian Automobile Association, the Criminal Intelligence Service Ontario, Crime Stoppers Toronto, and of course, Equite Association. This commitment of all of us to addressing this issue is reflected in the numerous and ongoing joint force operations in law enforcement agencies and collaborating on regionally, provincially, and federally. In 2023, police services in our province worked together to recover over 15,000 stolen vehicles, valued at over $500 million. That said, auto theft is among the top 3 revenue generators for organized crime groups, and it's not an issue that police services can tackle alone. The success of Project Paranoid is a result of that collaboration, and we will continue to work with our partners in law enforcement, government, auto manufacturing, insurance, and others to collectively tackle this problem. I want to thank the members of the Toronto Police Service for the success of this operation, specifically the Gun and Gang Task Force, Firearms Enforcement Unit, and members of the service's Organized Crime Investigative Support Unit for their ongoing dedication to this important work. I will now turn it over to Superintendent Steve Watts to discuss the details of both Project Spectre and Project Paranoid. Superintendent.
Okay, thank you, boss. Thank you, Staff Super. Good morning, everyone. My privilege and my pleasure to be standing in front of you this morning. As discussed, we're talking about the results of Project Spectre and Project Paranoid. This was an investigation that commenced in April of 2023 by the Toronto Police Service Gun and Gang Firearm Enforcement Unit. It was into a network of individuals involved in narcotics and firearms trafficking. During this investigation, an undercover operator successfully purchased 6 firearms and more than 200 grams of cocaine. The firearms to my right here, 3 of them being restricted, 3 of them being prohibited as a result of magazine size. As a result of the information obtained during Spectre, members of the service's OSIS unit, Organized Crime Investigative Support, segued into an investigation termed Project Paranoid. This was focused on the trafficking, shipping, re-vinning, and re-registering of stolen vehicles. During this project, there was a total of 48 vehicles seized. 20 were seized in a joint effort with Halton Regional Police Service, so special thanks to that service. 20 more were intercepted by TPS and Montreal Police with the assistance of CBSA in the Port of Montreal area. 5 were purchased by an undercover operator. These vehicles you can see behind me. These vehicles were purchased, re-vinned, and re-registered, which is kind of a first time in law enforcement that this has been done. 3 more vehicles were located during the execution of search warrants on the takedown on the completion of the project for the total of 48. Estimated value of all of these vehicles is approximately $3.75 million. During this investigation, there were several businesses in the GTA which were identified as locations where stolen motor vehicles were stored and sold prior to being shipped overseas and or being re-vinned and re-registered to be sold domestically. In all, 7 people were arrested and charged, and 150 charges in total for Spectre and Paranoid. The positive results of this project is absolutely due to the dedicated work of the many members of the Toronto Police Service, primarily Integrated Gun and Gang Task Force, Toronto Drug Squad, as well as the OSIS unit for the vehicle portion. This service, our service, is committed to the safety and well-being of our residents above all else. We will continue to work in collaboration with all the impacted stakeholders on finding solutions to this complex issue. I'll now pass it over to Mr. Brian Gass, the VP of Investigative Services, for his comments. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. As mentioned, my name is Brian Gast. I'm the Vice President of Investigative Services at Equite Association. I'd like to thank Chief Demkew and the command staff of Toronto Police Service for inviting us here today, and commend them and congratulate them for the phenomenal work that they're doing in the area of investigating vehicle crimes and keeping the community safe. In Canada, a vehicle is stolen every 5 minutes. The vehicles that the organized crime groups are targeting in Ontario are newer and of greater value than ever before and greater than any other province. Since 2020, the claim costs have increased by 319%. And for the first time, Ontario has experienced over $1 billion in auto theft claim cost in a single year in 2023, which is up from $700 million in 2022. Equite plays a significant role by helping Canadians fight insurance crimes, which includes vehicle crimes. We accomplish this through investigative expertise and advanced analytics. The investigative teams at Equite works with close collaboration with the CBSA, port authorities, government agencies, CISO, law enforcement agencies across the country, and particularly the Toronto Police Service. Equite investigators are specialized in identifying stolen vehicles, providing evidence as expert witnesses in court, assisting law enforcement in the search warrant execution, and providing training. These public-private partnerships create a more effective and efficient way of addressing the issue of auto theft by pooling resources and lending our expertise. Auto theft is not a victimless crime. It is not just a property crime. Beyond the financial impact of auto theft, it seriously impacts people's sense of safety. Ontarians are feeling vulnerable. The majority are worried about how the alarming increase in auto theft will impact the crime rate in their communities, and they are especially concerned for their personal safety and the safety of their families. A recent study finds more than 80% of Canadians are concerned of the community safety due to the impacts of auto theft, while the number of vehicles continues to increase. Canada continues to be a source nation for stolen vehicles, with organized crime exporting vehicles through the Port of Montreal or re-vinning for domestic resale. Profit margins are high, and historically, the risk of consequences for criminals are low. As a result, of stolen vehicles are frequently trafficked in order to finance and carry out other criminal activity, ranging from drugs and firearms to international terrorism, which is evidenced by these two projects today. Ontario's population, high volume of targeted vehicles, and its proximity to the Port of Montreal make it especially vulnerable. We applaud the Ontario government and law enforcement across the province who have taken this matter very seriously and have invested heavily to combat these serious crimes. Ontario's auto theft problem cannot be remedied in isolation. It requires this kind of dedication and collaborative approach through public-private partnerships to ultimately combat this crime and protect the people of Ontario. We look forward to our partnership with the Toronto Police Service. There is a lot of great work being done, and I am confident that together we can overcome this crisis. And again, I just want to congratulate Toronto Police for their phenomenal effort in this investigation, or these investigations, and I thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We'll now take any questions.
So that's a reference that comes from Interpol. Interpol represents 195 countries worldwide. Canada is one of those countries. We work, law enforcement work very readily with them. They coordinate a lot of police efforts and investigations globally. They have intelligence that supports that vehicles are being used as the commodity. It is funding organized crime. It is funding terrorism. Not only the vehicle itself is being used, but the proceeds of those vehicles are being used for terrorist acts globally.
Can you talk more about the increase of the amount of auto theft in Ontario in the last few years? You spoke about the insurance claims and rising insurance claims. Do you have statistics on how many cars, how many people in Ontario or CCA, like more than statistics on that?
Toronto specific? I can get you those stats, but they've increased year over year by about 48% from 2022 to 2023 to about 30,000 vehicles. Toronto will have their stats particular to Toronto. 30,000 in Ontario, yes.
All right, Toronto Police announcing the results of a vehicle theft investigation dubbed Project Paranoid that has led to the recovery of a number of stolen vehicles and illegal firearms. 7 arrests were made, 150 charges laid, and 48 vehicles were seized. We're also learning 20 were intercepted by various police forces and 5 were purchased by undercover police officers. We know auto theft is a massive problem here in the GTA, and this is the latest effort on the part of Toronto Police to try and tackle the issue. We'll have more on that throughout the day.